I had a brilliant idea. Gonna buy a pub.
But it's like you were going to buy a pub.
Yeah.
Here we are, returning to the farm of Meadowale, where Brad has come up with the brilliant idea of buying a pub. But considering that the nearest town is this far away, he'll have to do the next best thing and build his own pub and motel. That is a big task ahead, and there are some minor things around the farm that need tending to first, like fencing off the rest of the fields and building some more storage sheds. We also build a shack for Lewis to move into, as Lewis is now a 13-year-old boy, and as a 13-year-old boy, he has certain needs. Needs which cannot be met while sleeping right next to his younger sister. And we rescue Curly, a pigskin with paralytic abrasia that falls from the sky. It's come around to Christmas again, and it's a nice average temperature of 29 degrees Celsius, or like 85 in American. So on this nice warm summer's day, we gather around the Christmas tree and sing traditional Australian Christmas carols. And now that Christmas is over, Brad gets down to the long task of building all the things for his future pub and motel. Marie and Lewis will occasionally help, but the majority of the work is up to Brad, as it is his project after all. While Brad builds the guest quarters, Marie goes off to gift a lot of excess materials to the pigs, turning them non-hostile, and more importantly, turning them into future paying customers. We also accept to house some refugees, Gratin and Ulugi. Wow. And the moment he arrives, Gratin starts slaughtering a bunch of our chickens. What a trustworthy fellow. The Empire also requests our aid. While one of their shuttles goes down and a raid from the beasts move in to attack. We help the Empire kill the furries, though the Empire loses all their soldiers in the process. We capture 3 of the furries and intend to heal them up and let them go. Both the refugees decide to betray us, with some of the German shepherds knocking down Yologi before we get into a firefight with Gratin that Lewis ends up shooting dead. We capture Yologi, but not long after, there is a prison break, and Yologi gets mauled to death by the dogs. And the dogs take down 2 of the furries. The 3rd furry kills one of our dogs and gets shot by Brad. He is still alive, but when an infection starts in him, we don't exactly try our best to save him, as a revenge for our dead dog. As for the dead puppy, while we do love and care for our animals very much, and don't want to see them harmed, we are, however, very pragmatic. Brad also managed to finish the guest area too, and the motel is now open for business. And soon our first guests arrive. Some visitors from Bayet that will hopefully enjoy our amenities. We do need to keep an eye on them though, as one guest, a 45-year-old man, tries to flirt with the 14-year-old Lewis. But Brad has now finished his major construction project, and can go back to taking care of the animals that he has neglected while building, with his first task being to go on his own chicken killing spree. It's now winter again, and we didn't realize how cold the prison was getting, which caused Curly to get frostbite and lose a finger before we warmed him up. We only torture people accidentally, so it's morally justified. We get a manhunt a pack of boomalopes. Not a good thing to have when the farm is made of wood and flammable plants. We manage to kite them around well enough that the only damage we suffer is to the rice field, and to Cottonwood, who is made of wood and gets burnt really bad. She obviously doesn't like that, and makes up for her poor mood by binging hard on smoke leaf. This winter has been rather harsh, and we have an overabundance of animals. So the animals all eat through the feed quickly and start starving. This causes the great chicken dying. To add more mouths to feed, we accept a quest to house a prisoner on behalf of Bayet, Wong. A psychic drone tuned to females happens. While this is bad for all the women, both Cottonwood and Tiffy are affected worse due to their heightened psychic sensitivity. It sends both Tiffy and Cottonwood over the edge into a breakdown. Cottonwood does what she enjoys and goes on another smoke leaf binge. While Tiffy, who is genetically incapable of violence, goes into a murderous rage and starts attacking an explosive boom rat right next to a couple of extremely flammable buildings. Thankfully, she only knocks it unconscious instead of killing and detonating it. One of the German shepherds sees Tiffy in a rage and mauls her to the ground. While Tiffy is getting mauled, so is Brad, who has failed to tame a megasloth and has gotten attacked, having his leg badly injured and losing a toe in the process. And as if our problems weren't already bad enough, the Firehome imps decide to raid us at this point. While Cottonwood is still binging on drugs, Brad is hurt, and Tiffy is bleeding to death. The imps divide into two groups, half attacking some traders, and the other half moving to attack us. We end up fighting them in the animal pen. Brad gets lit on fire straight away, and runs directly towards the raiders, which causes him to get shot in the back several times by his wife. With Brad going down, all of our powerful animals flee, and the rest of the colonists have to get into a firefight with the imps before making them flee. The traders did very well to help us, and I doubt we would have won if they didn't fight with us. Lewis got his nose shattered in the raid, and Tiffy has received an infection in her arm, which, with both of our skilled doctors unconscious, the best person to help treat Tiffy's infection is Cottonwood, who has a medical skill of 5 and is currently stoned. We also get another round of guests at this point, with the farm currently on fire and human corpses everywhere. I have a feeling that we won't be getting a very good Space Yelp review from them. The infection in Tiffy's arm is starting to get very serious. Cottonwood is trying her hardest, but the infection percent is climbing fast. When it hits 90%, we have to make the decision. Do we cut off the arm, or risk it and hope the immunity gain can beat the infection? We decide to leave the arm on and risk it. That was insane. The infection even hit 100%. I have no doubt that Tiffy was just seconds from death there. Though while we were focused on the farm burning down and Tiffy's infection, the prisoners end up getting frostbite. Again. With it being bad enough to kill the prisoner we were holding for Bayet. We save Curly at least, who soon decides to actually join the farm. It's not torture if it wasn't intentional. But thankfully most of the damage we took could be rebuilt or healed easily. And the guests liked their stay so much that they left us a tip of some Glitterworld medicine. The fire and corpses apparently didn't matter that much to them. Since the great chicken dying, we've been left with very few chickens remaining. But one rooster and a few hens is more than enough to rebuild them too. Just in time for a siege from the Venom Wasters. There's too many of them for us to take in a fair fight, so we call in some help from Bayet. Our allies heroically get shot instead of us, while we move in and start shooting the raiders. We manage to knock 2 of them down, Scrapburr and Jenny. At this point, we have a big thinkin'. Up until now, we've just been healing up the raiders and then just letting them go, but that obviously is not working, as all we are doing is releasing those raiders back into the faction of murderers and thieves. After all, Jenny is a 15-year-old girl that has been turned into a genetically modified killing machine. All we would be doing by releasing her back to the people that turned her into a Asar is giving her more negative reinforcement. So instead, if we recruit these raiders and show them some compassion, we can instead give them a positive reinforcement loop and change their lives for the better. Converting them to the way of Neo Space Jesus is just another benefit. Not long after we make that decision, the Neanderthals from the Logar Union raid us. They kill a few of our animals, but we kill most of them and capture a man named Alligator. A mech cluster also lands, right in the corner of the map, and it's all asleep, so it's just going to get ignored. To begin our rehabilitation program, we start with a conversion ritual with Scrap Blur. We tried to convince him that stealing things is wrong. He managed to counter this argument with a "yeah, nah." And now the winter is finally over. It has been a very brutal season that has killed so many of our animals and left us on the verge of starvation the whole time. But thankfully, it's over. Until Randy decides to send us Cold Snap at us, which kills all of our plants and starves a few more of our animals. We need to start buying food off traders at this point so we don't all die. We do manage to convert Scrap Blur, and Tiffy, who is a Psycaster, is able to use some of her magical space wizard powers to instantly lower his resistance to recruiting, which also includes Tiffy having the power to give others inspirations, like giving Brad a taming inspiration so he can go off and safely tame a megasloth. Megan now becomes an adult, picking up the neurotic trait. She has turned into an amazing pawn, industrious and neurotic, adding a good amount of work speed, fast learner giving her great skills, and the great spread of passions. Children really are just overpowered. Of course, the first thing that Megan does now that she's a teenager is getting into the smoke leaf stash. We recruit Alligator at this time too. Everyone starts getting built their own bedrooms at this point. A trade caravan from Bayet arrives, which includes Marie's sister Jade. The two sisters have a nice heartfelt conversation where Marie manages to convince Jade to join the growing settlement. How did I manage to do this in-game? Well, I cheated. In non-cheating methods though, we finish the batch of recruits, with Jenny joining us. We release her from prison into the settlement, and she immediately goes on a tantrum. Marie now goes off to buy some hard drugs. Both Jenny and Scrap Blur have biological dependencies, and will die unless given drugs, just like an 80s glam rocker. With Jackson being well into his childhood now, we decide to remove the crib out of the master bedroom. And as if they knew what I was doing, Marie falls pregnant seconds after I give the uninstall order. Another mech cluster lands, one that we can't just ignore, so we get ready to attack it and call in the pigs to help us. The pigs land directly on top of the mech cluster, and while they soak up a lot of fire, we move in to attack. Jenny leads the charge and gets shot a bunch and lit on fire. She retreats to patch herself up. We start moving up and firing at the mechs, closing the distance so that our pawns, most of which are using shotguns, can close to attack. We take them all out, but we get shot up pretty badly in the attack. Both Cottonwood and Brad go down from blood loss, and nearly everyone is injured in some way. We send the critically injured people home to rest, while Megan, Marie, Lewis, and Jenny clear out the rest of the cluster. Because of the sheer amount of injuries, we end up with 4 people getting infections. Cottonwood is the worst off, and we have to use some of the stockpiled Glitterworld medicine to save her. That's not all of Cottonwood's woes though, as both her nose and lung gets shot out. Jenny took a shot to the eye and now has a scar on it, and Brad got his left hand shot off. And the thrombo was starting to look very worse for wear, with multiple brain scars. Also, Curly gets struck by lightning. It wasn't actually that bad for him, but it was just hilarious to see. We take a while to rest from all the injuries. We send Jade to go off trading, specifically with the intention of finding replacement parts for all of our missing limbs and organs. There is also a wild woman wandering around the settlement. Tiffy uses Word of Inspiration on Brad to give him another taming inspiration, and he goes off and tames Kina, a pig woman. She's alright, but we are mostly going to be using her as dumb labor around the colony. And we couldn't just leave her outside alone. And now we celebrate Christmas again. Since the last Christmas, we've welcomed Curly, Jade, Scrap Blur, Alligator, Jenny, and Kina. We've been building everyone their own standalone houses as they've been recruited, turning what was just a farm into the beginning of a small town. So reminiscing about the past year, we all gather around the Christmas tree and have a merry time. Except Jade, who is busy trading. Not long after Christmas, Tiffy and Alligator become lovers. Tiffy flirted with Alligator by comparing him to a breathtaking aurora. You know what, I think that might actually work on me. Jade arrives at the pig settlement, who manages to buy a bionic arm and a kidney. We are just going to assume that this kidney was ethically harvested by these cannibal pig people. She ends up being a single silver short of buying a replacement nose for Lewis, but she'll just come back later. When Jade brings back the body parts, we install them all. We've converted the old prison cell into a hospital, and despite it not being the best place for a surgery, we managed to successfully install all of the parts in everyone without any mishaps. Jenny also gets a bionic eye that we've been holding on to for about 100 days at this point. We get a raid from the beasts. They've split into 3 groups. We give a call to Bayet and ask for some help, and they send us a fire wizard who absolutely destroys the first 2 groups of furries. Turns out space magic is really powerful. The fire wizard stays back to heal, as the rest of the allies head to the 3rd group, and our allies get absolutely destroyed by multiple rocket launchers. We mop up the rest of the raiders and manage to capture 2 of them. The graveyard is starting to get very full, and with another 23 corpses, we just don't have the space to keep burying everyone. So we set up a crematorium and start burning them all, giving Jackson a nice close-range smell of combination of rotting and burning dog fur and human flesh. Tiffy now falls pregnant herself, with her carrying Alligator's child. This is the biggest sign of us moving away from being just a farmstead to an actual town, when people not in the main family start having children. Considering that we are expanding, we build another storage shed. This one is going to be the main storage area, while we turn the old small shed into a kitchen. A 13-year-old approaches the town and asks to stay with us. We can't really turn a young teenager away, so Volkodov gets to stay with us. Alligator clearly didn't like this and started beating up Volkov. I'm certain Alligator will make a great father. We get yet another mech cluster land. A psychic droner guarded by 3 Diablos, sweet space Jesus. We've recruited one of the furries, Kiaisia, and give him an EMP launcher that we've had for ages that I've forgotten to use on every other mech cluster earlier. We call in the pigs to give us some aid, and then we attack. Cottonwood shoots and pulls the mechs, but ends up getting shot a bunch herself. The pigs we've called in to help us all die nearly immediately, but thankfully we get random allies from Bayet drop in to help us, including the fire wizard from earlier, who is completely ineffective against the mechs who are immune to fire. He ends up getting completely destroyed by one of the Diablos' hell cannons. Oh, and now Marie is going into labor. At the same time, we get a trader show up, coming in from the north, who also starts attacking the mechs. With so many allies, we soon overpower the mechs and destroy the psychic droner. We got really lucky with that one, and I was fully expecting to lose several people. And now that the mechs are destroyed, we have a psychic drone attuned to females. This affects all the women quite badly, except for Jenny, who is psychically deaf, and Marie, who is really enjoying giving birth again. This must be a horrible experience for Tiffy, who is the midwife for Marie, with a horrible drone hurting her brain directly while watching one of her friends having the time of her life giving birth, while being pregnant herself and knowing that she won't enjoy giving birth anywhere near as much, considering that Tiffy's brain isn't wired to enjoy pain. But despite it all, a healthy baby girl is born that we named Leah. Because of that psychic drone, one of the traders goes berserk and is gunned down by the rest of the traders. Jenny flirts with Lewis by half complimenting his hopes and dreams. Considering that Jenny is this strong muscle girl, I can completely see why Lewis wanted to start a relationship with her. And because Tiffy moved out a while ago, we knock down the wall and expand Lewis and Jenny's bedroom. Of course, right after I do this, Tiffy breaks up with Alligator. Tiffy doesn't care about becoming a single mother and gets back to work and recruits the other furry we captured, Woosh. And now Alligator is completely heartbroken. So much so that Kina jumped right onto Alligator and became his rebound. This must be horrible for Alligator, as he has gone from having a catgirl girlfriend genetically modified to be the perfect lover, to a literal pig woman. We decide that now is a good time to open up the ancient danger near the town. We've just completely forgotten about it up until now. All that was defending it was a couple of bugs, something that we were well and truly over-prepared for. We managed to capture 4 of the ancients. We don't really trust them, so they're all just going in prison until they swear that they love Space Jesus. We end up converting and recruiting them over the course of several days. We get a Megasloth self-tame too, a male one this time, so now we can start a Megasloth breeding program. This might be hilarious to Brad, considering the amount of times that he's been beat up while trying to tame Megasloths. And now Volkov decides to leave us, annoyingly taking with him some of our nice gear. The thought to murder him to get our stuff back never crossed our minds. A Nociosphere just appears. We capture it and place it right next to the prison. It has a pain field that causes constant agony to those around it, meaning that all those ancients that we captured are now in constant horrible pain. Remember, it's not torture if you don't do it intentionally. In lighter news, Kina falls pregnant, meaning that there are now currently 2 women pregnant with Alligator's children. What a chad. We end up buying a lung from Bayet, who are significantly less likely to have ripped it out of someone unwilling than the pigs. We install it into Cottonwood, and right in the middle of the transplant, Tiffy goes into labour. Brad finishes off the transplant, then becomes the midwife for Tiffy's birth. It's at this point where we find out that while Tiffy is loved by everyone in town due to being exceptionally beautiful, she doesn't actually like anyone herself, and considers no one her friend. She also throws up in the middle of giving birth, but she ends up giving birth to a healthy daughter she calls Alina. Another weird person asked to join us, Sputter. We let them, but have since learned our lesson and don't give them a bunch of our clothes and weapons. And now for another pregnancy. This time, it is Jenny falling pregnant. I wonder if the constant need for goat juice affects her baby in a negative way. We find a chunk of grey flesh, signaling that someone has a metal horror inside of them. Surprise! We find out that it's inside Sputter, so we have a very heavily armed surgery to cut it out of him. It goes after Marie, and she takes a couple of cuts, but nothing that a few days rest won't fix. A red fox hunts and kills one of our pet cats. Brad chases it down and kills it. Yeah, that's what you get for being red and not blue. Tiffy now gets into another relationship. She flirts with Kaiser, one of the Phytokin, and he immediately starts fighting with Lewis straight away. This means that both of the boyfriends that Tiffy has had started beating up teenagers the moment she got with them. I'd also like to make a joke about Tiffy liking big furry men, but considering that she's a cat girl, she's half furry herself. We get an infestation, with a lot of bugs in it. Considering that we aren't really using this section, the smarter move would have been to just not mine it out. Despite it being a lot of bugs, we have a lot of guns now. After the bugs, we finish up a royal bedroom that we've been working on for a while. This is going to be for any royal guests in the future. We've decided to call the room King Richard's Head. We get another batch of refugees, 8 of them this time. They have a religion that forbids them from doing dumb labour, but most of them have no decent skills, so dumb labour it is. Hey Aunt Frank, we'll save you from the bad people, but we only eat pork here, so better get used to it. We now have 30 people in the town, plus a few guests. And because we have so many people, and the animals are all closely packed together, we get a nasty outbreak of the plague, which turns out to be really deadly, killing Wuresh and Li Lo, one of the people we pulled out of the ancient danger. The plague also killed one of the refugees, and the moment they died, the rest of the refugees turned on us. We have more numbers and guns, while they only had melee weapons, so all but 2 of the refugees died. We captured one, and the other ran off. We have a funeral for our dead and then get back to work. In which Marie has an inspiration and makes a legendary bed. The bed is engraved with the portrayal of a solitary jeweler looking mindless. The style is of a post-impressionist with sinuous elements. The whole image is depicted with the careful arrangement of 4 lines. I have commissioned an artist to show what this will actually look like. Beautiful. And now we finish another really bad winter for us. Until Randy, again, sends a cold snap right as spring starts, killing all of our crops. Again. And now both Kina and Jenny give birth. Kina gives birth to a boy, Sussy, who, as a hybrid, has a really nice mix of genes from his parents. Then, when Jenny goes into labour, she is still wearing her power armour, so she's just gonna give birth while wearing it. Brad is extremely tired and has a mental break in the middle of the birth. So with the midwife leaving, Jenny ends up finishing the birth by herself. Despite that, little baby Leon was born healthy. This makes Brad and Marie grandparents, and their farm has now fully turned into a successful town. And now after 212 days, we leave behind the town of Meadowvale, and Rimworld 1.5 as well, and look forward to the nice Odyssey that we are about to go on.
Hello, MILF.
Oh, Veggie, I'm a grandmother now. Call me Gilf.
Your culture is so confusing.